creating new heavens and a new earth, and no one will even think about the old ones anymore. Be glad, rejoice forever in my creation. And look, I will create Jerusalem as a place of happiness. Her people will be a source of joy. I will rejoice over Jerusalem and delight in my people, and the sound of weeping and crying will be heard in it no more. No longer will babies die when only a few days old. No longer will adults die before they have lived a full life. No longer will people be considered old at 100. Only the cursed will die that young. In those days, people will live in houses they build and eat the fruit of their own vineyards. Unlike the past, invaders will not take their houses and confiscate their vineyards. For my people will live as long as trees, and my chosen ones will have time to enjoy their hard-won gains. They will not work in vain, and their children will not be doomed to misfortune. For they are people blessed by the Lord, and their children too will be blessed. I will answer them before they even call to me. While they're still talking about their needs, I will go ahead and answer their prayers. The wolf and the lamb will feed together. The lion will eat hay like a cow, but the snakes will eat dust. In those days, no one will be hurt or destroyed on my holy mountain. I, the Lord, have spoken. The final verse this morning is Matthew 5:3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. How many of you know that nothing quite fosters a poor in spiritness than attempting to do the work of reconciliation? How many of you have loose ends in relationships? Yeah. Have avoided reconciliatory conversations, or your attempts at reconciliation have been stymied by other people's resistance? Yes, thank you, Joshua. Yeah, yes to all of them. It's good to get your body into it. How many of you live with a longing for deep restoration? Yeah. I would say that some of the greatest weights that I carry in my life, especially in my life as a pastor, are the burdens of unreconciled or unrestored relationships. I can't stop thinking about, if you weren't here last week, I shared a story about a weasel. It's a really great story. It's about an eagle as well. There was somebody who shot an eagle, which we already went over. You don't shoot eagles out of the sky, but this guy did. It's from an Annie Dillard essay on weasels. And when the eagle landed, he found a skull lodged in the eagle's. It was actually on his neck. Like maybe the eagle had tried to catch a weasel, and the weasel struck, and it was like just the skull was left because the weasel had bitten down so hard. And I can't stop thinking about this image of seeing an eagle flying around with like a weasel hanging off of its neck. It's quite the imagery. And I also can't stop thinking about that weasel, like just going for a ride. And just not because of its nature, not letting go, just on it. And the image for us last week was that we want to be locked on the work of reconciliation in that way. To just be just fighting for it. And it's hard. So we started the Common Ground series talking about Jesus being the center of our faith, community as the center of our life, and reconciliation as the center of our work. And last week I shared this picture. We walked through, we had the big kids in here, and we talked about this reconciliation cycle. It should be in here, maybe not. No, it's not there. Is none of the sermon slides in there? They are. Just not that one? That's so good. Not this one, the next one. Can I gotta have this next picture. The whole sermon depends on. Caesar, can you bring my computer real quick? Make sure. Get your phones out. You're gonna love it.
I didn't see it there at all.
I'm not doing it without it. Sorry.
But it wasn't there.
No. To be clear, the error is all mine. Oh, I see what's happening. I'm sorry, guys. This is so unprofessional. Oh, no. This is terrible. Okay, I'm going to explain it to you. You just got to pretend that it was awesome. So, this cycle, really simple. It starts with community. How many of you remember this? And then it goes down to conflict. Conflict and community go hand in hand. And then we talked about the comfort of the gospel, the good news that God in Christ is reconciling all things to himself. And then we get to the challenge, which is, and he's given us the ministry of reconciliation. And it's just this nice, clean little image that isn't like real life at all. And the whole point was like, say yes to this cycle. And it is like a rock tumbler, and you get tumbled around in this thing. It's what refines us. It's what helps us grow. And the picture I wanted to show you was what that cycle actually feels like in real life, which was arrows going every single way towards pain, towards like leaving community, towards I just can't do this, towards conflict. And there's like this endless conflict loop that I put in there too, and challenge and like departure and like new, different, better community that you found because the last one wasn't, couldn't do it. Because that's what it feels like. It would be so great if we're like, okay, community and, conflict, awesome, that's what's good for us. And then, the comfort of the gospel and yes to the challenge of being a reconciler and now we're back to healthy community. But it doesn't quite work like that. The work of reconciliation is so messy, sometimes disappointing, frustrating, and yet we believe it's the center of our work, and it's a work that is never done. The world will know that we belong to Jesus by the way we love each other, is what Jesus tells his disciples, which requires this ongoing commitment to the work of reconciliation. Jesus spends his final moments before being arrested praying for the unity of his people. Lord, we're one and they're one, and I pray that they would, that one where he like keeps on saying the same thing over and over, but it's just pouring out his heart that his church would be a unified people. And we looked last week at Paul's words to the church in Corinth. He says, God has reconciled to us to himself through Jesus, and he's given us the ministry of reconciliation. And the reason he's talking about reconciliation to the church in Corinth is because they're not reconciled. They were fighting with each other, and they were fighting with Paul, and Paul was fighting with them. I mean, it's like this vicious cycle, and he just paints this beautiful picture, this just shining gospel moment right there in chapter 5. But look at what he says in chapter 12. You have to read it in the Message because Eugene Peterson just brings out the pathos of what's happening here. He says, Paul writes and he says, I do admit that I have fears that when I come, you'll disappoint me and I'll disappoint you. And in frustration with each other, everything will fall to pieces. Quarrels, jealousy, flaring tempers, taking sides, angry words, vicious rumors, swelled heads, and general bedlam. It's complicated. Jill reached out to me on Sunday or Monday after two weeks ago, right after church. She said, hey, can we talk? It was after they had their group, and she said, can we talk? And I was like, when I get a text message that says, can we talk? I'm like, yeah. When it's from Jill, I'm like, definitely. When it's from other people, I'm like, I hope it's okay. What did I do? And she saw that we were going to be talking about reconciliation the next 2 weeks. And she came and just said, ugh. And we talked about the last 9 years of our life together, which we're reconciled. Jill and I are good. But my predecessor left, and people didn't have an opportunity to be reconciled to their pastor, somebody they had done life with for over a decade. We talked about other painful relationships. What happened here? What happened with this one? How come this isn't right? How come this hasn't been fixed? Why is this so tough? We talked about the complexity and the messiness and the hard reality of it. And it's just messy. And I love that reconciliation of Jesus and Peter, because Peter famously having denied Jesus 3 times after brashly declaring, I will die for you. I don't know him. I don't know him. I don't know that guy. And I feel like the story here, sometimes we can gloss over like, oh, it's this beautiful poetic picture. Peter denied him 3 times, and so he has 3 times to say, I love you. But I don't know. Because we've all been in a place where we've blown it with somebody that we love. Maybe a friend, maybe a coworker, maybe a spouse. And sometimes during the painful, slow work of reconciliation, it can feel like the wounded person is sort of rubbing your nose in it. And I think about Peter in this moment, and you see that. He's like, Jesus. I like that. Where it's like they're really lingering in their place of pain, which also happens to be like your place of shame. You're like, you want to get out of that place. And Jesus sits with Peter, and he just stays in that moment. Do you love me? Yes. Do you love me? Jesus, yes, you know, I do. He's getting defensive. Peter, do you love me? Verse 17, Peter was hurt that Jesus asked the question a 3rd time. He said, Lord, you know everything. You know I love you. Who was it for that Jesus asked 3 times? Was it for Peter? Is it just so he had a chance to rectify his 3 wrongs? I don't know. Was it for Jesus? Is it like sitting with a friend or a spouse, a loved one, where you just have to stay in that place and keep on listening and keep on suffering together? We are often uncomfortable with that sort of human Jesus, yet he is fully God and fully human. We have trouble with a God who reveals himself to us as a God in need. Maybe it was for both of them. Because the reality is we worship a God who exists outside of time but has chosen to live life in time with us. God with us, Emmanuel, fully participating in our experience. as he reconciles all things to himself. We do see that God experiences pain in relationship and works out that pain with the people he loves. And it's messy. In the Gospels, in Jesus, the King of reconciliation. And with Peter, the one upon whom the church was founded, it's hard. In a desire to flesh out the hardness and the beauty of reconciliation today, I've asked two people to share about some of their own journeys in regards to reconciliation. And we're all on that journey, and we want to be committed to this work. First, I'm going to bring Anderson Campbell up. Anderson, would you come on up? Give it up for Anderson. We had lunch a couple weeks ago, and he shared some stuff that really resonated with me, and I asked if he could share some of that with us. So this is Anderson.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, Village Grace Church. Let's see. I'm not bringing up slides because I didn't make any. But I did want to bring up some notes that I took. And I'm getting to the age where I need two different sets of glasses, and I didn't bring the other set. So you can see me, but I won't be able to see you, which is probably fine. So what that converts into later. And it's within that context that Andy and I had a conversation, and I brought up some thoughts about reconciliation and what that's looked like in my life, primarily because of my journey through sobriety. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the idea, the concept of the 12 steps of recovery, first put down by Alcoholics Anonymous and now used by a lot of different recovery types of programs. Most folks they know a couple of things about the 12 steps if they haven't done them themselves. There's 12 of them. It's in the name. And there's something about making amends to other people. And if you've ever journeyed with somebody who's been in recovery and have been wounded by that person, you may have experienced amends that they have made to you, or you may have felt like you ought to have experienced amends and didn't get that. And if that's happened, I'm happy to unpack that with you. I wanted to talk about, though, what this has to do with reconciliation and how that's been